America's only Irish station, Radio Irish. That's what you're listening to as we celebrate St. Patrick's Day and all things Irish. Sean McCarthy here, wishing you and yours a very happy St. Patrick's Day. You know, being here in New York City is magical indeed, and one young Irish lass who did not hold back in her expression for her absolute love of New York City was 15-year-old Dublin teenager Triona Priestly, who passed away after a long-fought battle with cystic fibrosis on Mother's Day in Ireland, March 30th, 2014, and whose one-year anniversary is coming up. Triona's brave battle to live brought her a final wish come true, which was made by her many friends on her behalf in a Twitter campaign to have world-famous singer-songwriter Ed Sheeran sing for her before she left this world. We all remember #SongForTree. Ed Sheeran called Triona up and sang her favourite little tune, Little Bird, only hours before Triona Priestly passed away. And there are many ways we want to remember beautiful Triona Priestly, through her love of music, her passion for people, her love of New York City, and the efforts we can all make to reach into our hearts to support continuing research into cystic fibrosis. As I turn now to Triona's brother Ciarán, who has been very active in all sorts of ways this past year in tribute to his little sister Triona. How are you, Ciarán?
I'm good, thanks Sean, thanks for having me on.
Now, undoubtedly a difficult year for you, Ciarán, and all the Priestly family, friends and loved ones. You've kept busy, Ciarán, coming here to New York to run the New York City Marathon in her honour and tribute and memory, a city that Triona loved passionately. Indeed, you have written a beautiful account of your marathon run, Ciarán. Tell me, what did it mean to you to run the marathon for your little sister Triona?
I suppose the decision to run the marathon came about quite soon after Triona's passing, I suppose, and it felt like an appropriate tribute that I could make to her. It also felt like something, I knew there was going to be a very long, lonely road ahead of me in the months following Triona's funeral. I felt personally, if I had a project, some kind of goal that I could work towards, that I could maybe focus on, that it might help me to get through those difficult months. And while this could also tie in with, for example, I knew Cystic Fibrosis Ireland had places in the New York Marathon, so I could race as part of their team to raise funds for Cystic Fibrosis Ireland, but really most importantly, just so I could do something in Triona's memory and Triona's honour in a city that Triona really, really loved, New York. It was a place she had visited a few times with her family. I think she went 4 times in total, and twice was with her whole family in 2004 and 2010. And she would have returned if her health had improved. And going back to New York, particularly at Christmas, had become, I suppose, kind of a dream. It had mythical status, and because Triona didn't get to go back, I decided that I'd go back and I would complete a marathon in her honour.
Now talk to me, Ciarán, a little about Triona's medical care in the years leading up to her passing on. You were all hoping for a lung transplant, I believe, but sadly that did not happen.
Yeah, and my parents would have been very active. Obviously, as Triona was still a child, she was involved with the Children's Hospital. So my parents were both involved in her care on a day-to-day basis in helping her fight the condition. Now, Triona was trying to keep herself well enough so that if a transplant became available, if she was accepted on the active list for transplant, that she would be in as good a physical condition that she would have a chance for success. Cystic fibrosis, for anyone who knows anything about the condition, is a very, very complex condition, a very complex illness. And unfortunately, when, I suppose, for want of a better term, but when the condition really started to turn the screw on Triona, there wasn't really a lot of room for her to try and fight back. And unfortunately, I mean, it took her so young. It takes a lot of people very young, unfortunately, and research is very important. But also there are amazing success stories out there with people living with CF and having very full lives with the condition. And so that's why research funding and
Now, was Triona relatively comfortable, Ciarán, and did the family get the assistance you all needed in terms of the care Triona was receiving?
The hospital in Temple Street, I mean, Triona was quite active in speaking about the facilities in which she was cared for, that she felt that they should have been improved, and she would have worked with the staff within Temple Street to make promo videos, for example, to speak to the media about how the facilities needed to be improved. In terms of the personnel, in terms of the people that dealt with Triona, they were of the absolute highest quality, both in terms of their professionalism and then also in terms of the care and the love that they gave to their patients in Temple Street. But whether those people and indeed those patients are being failed by the facilities in which they're being cared for or in which they're trying to fight their conditions, I think there can be little doubt that more needs to be done in that respect.
Now, you have written a beautiful account of your running the TCS New York City Marathon on Sunday, November the 2nd, 2014, Ciarán, in memory and honour of Triona, which can be read at Fairytale of New York City Marathon, all one word, Fairytale of New York City Marathon.wordpress.com, in which you write about how you felt to be taking part in the event that you had trained for through months of grief and expectation. Describe a little bit to me, Ciarán, about how it felt to run the marathon in tribute to your little sister Triona. Were there any particular memorable moments that stand out along the route?
I suppose so. I suppose it's important to remember that, or to note that I do like to run events to keep fit. It's a means of keeping fit primarily. I wouldn't be a very serious runner in the very real sense. So I made the mistake that a lot of people make when they do marathons, when they take part, and that I started out too fast. I ran my first half in as quick as I'd ever run a half marathon, which, considering there was another half to go, is problematic, to say the least. When it started to dawn on me, I suppose, that I had made that mistake in and around the 7-8 mile mark, I have to confess that I did take the opportunity to almost, what would I say, speak to Triona as I had been the whole way through, and I said to her something along the lines of, I need to know that you're with me right now. And as I ran through the 8 mile mark through Brooklyn, Ed Sheeran song was blaring from the speakers, and I did find it very memorable. Now, look, the song was a huge hit that year, and if you run 26 miles, 4.5 hours, as it took me, or a little longer, you're going to hear one of the biggest songs that year. But for it to happen at that time, it did mean a lot to me, and to say any different wouldn't be the case.
Ciarán, you write about how you had tried to use the discipline needed to complete the training as a motivation to continue with your own life, adding that, quote, Triona would not have tolerated me to using her death as an excuse to opt out. Did you find that Triona's courage in her own battle for life kept you going, Ciarán?
Incredibly so, yeah. And look, it's something that maybe someday I'll understand. I'm 32 years of age. Triona was 15 when she passed away. She would have been 16 last year. Maybe it's something I understand, and later in life, because to get through a marathon and to use Triona's struggle is one thing, and maybe that could be a metaphor for something that I'll have to face later in life. But like everybody, you're going to go through difficult times in your life, and eventually, if you're lucky, you may have some notice and find out that your time is coming to an end. And if I could think of the way Triona approached that period of her life and that challenge, and if I could keep her spirit in my heart when I'm going through what I'm sure is the most darkest and difficult days of your life, I'll be proud and I'll remember her.
Now, New York City holds a special place at the heart of your family, Ciarán, I understand, and Triona loved New York City. Indeed, she came here too, didn't she, during family trips? Tell us about her last visit, Ciarán. What did New York mean to her?
Yeah, I suppose the last time he came was in 2010 to try and intimate exactly what New York meant to Triona. it is a little difficult. There was a huge picture of Times Square in her bedroom where she would have spent a lot of difficult evenings, you know, struggling to breathe. And New York was something that, I suppose, to understand what New York meant to Triona, you'd nearly have to understand part of Trina's personality. CF is a difficult condition to live with, and it can take a lot out of you. But Triona always tried to maintain a positive attitude to what was ahead of her, and I don't mean that in a throwaway kind of. She was happy. I mean, she was a child with a normal life. She was popular in school, so there was always a concert and there was always a big night out with the friends or something coming up that she was looking forward to. But while this could always be taken away for her at the very last minute, because her health could just take a turn for the worse, she'd get back up on her feet and get on with it. Now, New York, them trips when they were coming, we spoke about them so much, we were so excited about them, and the whole time that could have been taken away from Triona at the last minute. If her health had become bad and she couldn't travel, that would be the case. But every time we went to New York, Triona was happy, she was well, we were all together, and she loved when all of her brothers were together. She called us my boys or her boys, and in New York we have the most special memories together, and Triona was well and we were together.
I suppose those memories give you strength, Ciarán.
Oh, absolutely. I mean that's what we will always have that. I mean, I'll live my life probably in Ireland and finish out my days here. Hopefully there's a lot more to come in my life. But if I see New York on the television, as you see it all the time, it's such an iconic place. Or when I see, if I see New York in books or films or anything, any mention of it, and I just think that, I think of Triona and I think of the story that our family had in the city and the experience that we all had together. And it's something, it will be with me forever, and it can't be taken away.
Now, the efforts and work being done at Cystic Fibrosis Ireland is also close to your heart, Ciarán. What can people do to reach out in an effort to demonstrate their will to assist in the continuing research? I believe there are clinical trials due to start in Ireland on a breakthrough new treatment. I saw a report on RTE there last week. Did you see that?
I do try to keep up to date with the trials that are coming out. I have to admit, I amn't an expert on that subject. I know that, for example, Kalydeco is such an important drug, and for the trials, which I believe the ones that you mentioned is for Kalydeco, they are going through a trial stage at the moment. And from speaking to people who have CF and or being aware of people who have been on those trials, they have reported remarkable differences in just how they live their everyday lives, things that the rest of us just take for granted, and helping people, not helping people with CF, but enabling people with CF to live their own lives through these trials is such an important thing. And I would be conscious that if I am speaking to a New York audience, there's a foundation that I can't speak high enough of that's located in Manhattan called Team Boomer. And they are a cystic fibrosis foundation that really specialises in working with people with CF and helping them through their lives as best they can, and empowering them to go on to help themselves, really. Look, if people are involved in or interested in running or a bit of exercise or something like that, there's always marathons or shorter runs. In Manhattan, for example, there's a 4-mile run through Central Park in July that Team Boomer run, or there's other events on the Cystic Fibrosis Ireland website. So, I mean, you can have a very enjoyable, very worthwhile life experience, and by doing so you can also support the work of these organisations.
And we'll certainly put a link to Team Boomer here on our Radio Irish Facebook page. Talk to me a little bit, Ciarán, if you will, about that remarkable gesture of compassion that Triona received in that now famous phone call from Ed Sheeran, during which Ed sang to Triona. What had that meant to your sister, Ciarán?
I mean, it gave. I'm very grateful to Trina's friends and to Ed Sheeran for what he did, because they just gave Trina just a lovely moment, and they gave her peace and they gave her happiness, and she was aware of what was going on, and she was such a big fan of Ed Sheeran, parents, my three brothers, our partners, and Trina's godfather and her long-time nurse was there with the consultant. And our brother Colin received the phone call. We were aware that Ed Sheeran would ring. And when he received the phone call, he put it on loudspeaker, and Ed spoke to Trina just for a couple of seconds. And then I think Colin said that he should, advised that maybe he should start singing the song, which he did. And he sang Trina's favourite song, which was a song called Little Bird. And as he was playing the song, Trina took her last breaths. And when the consultant took Trina's mask off, she had a smile on her face. And for Trina to have had that moment, I mean, I'm just so grateful, and I'm so happy, because for everything she went through, she deserved that.
She most certainly did. Now, you held a memorial Song for Tree concert for Triona in September, Ciarán, during which your brother Colm and your father Sean played a particularly Irish version of New York, New York on stage. Did that event help the family to heal a little bit, Ciarán?
Oh yeah, it was nice, and Trina would have liked that. I could imagine her saying, "Oh yeah, do it, have the concert," and the night went so well, and the room was full of people that knew Trina or were connected to her in some way, or new members of our family, and it really was a celebration, and it went really well, and it was a lovely night, and I mean, there was laughter and tears in equal measure, I suppose, and Trina would have liked it. And I am particularly fond of that song that Colm and my dad played on stage, because we knew, maybe subtly so, that what New York meant to Trina, and just quite how haunting for example, my father playing the tin whistle. It just, when I hear it, I just think of us in New York, and Trina being so happy.
Well, we're just about to play the version of New York, New York that your father Sean and brother Colm played that night. Tell me, Ciarán, what are your plans next? I know you're heading out for a jog along Sandymount Strand this evening. Yes, that's right. Is the 2015 New York City Marathon on the horizon?
No, I think I don't know if I'll make over for 2015 just yet. Maybe in a couple of years. I may run the half marathon someday. I might leave my 2014 experience as it was, and just leave it there and have it as it exists, and not to change it. I suppose I'm getting to a stage now where I suppose in talking about Trina, I'm a little reluctant to. I will always speak about her, but I can never speak for her, because Trina had such an amazing intellect, and she was funny, she was such good company, and she made such an impression on the people that she met, and she was very careful about how she crafted her relationships with different people, whether they be friends or relatives, or the partners of her brothers and things like that. And that could never, people's relationship could never be influenced by what I say in that respect. But I suppose I'm reluctant to speak for her, because I never could. I could never do justice to her turn of phrase, or how funny she could be, or just quite how much care or insight she would have into someone's character. So I'll always speak about her, and if anyone ever wanted me to do so, in any capacity, maybe I just thought that I may speak in New York, a Team Bloomer event, and speak about Trina to them, and I'd love to do that, especially in New York. But I think I just let Trina's legacy and her legacy really live in the hearts of the people that she touched, because she cared so much about the people that she loved.
I was reading some of her last tweets there last week, Ciarán. She was very outspoken, wasn't she?
Oh yeah, and I suppose that just the position in our family, she was the youngest of five and the only girl. So, and I don't mean in any kind of, she was the boss. She was the boss of us five. She was in charge of it, and I don't mean that in kind of some got a glimpse into the person that she would have been had she been able to grow into an adult.
And how's the family doing, Ciarán?
I mean, it's tough beyond, anything we could have ever imagined, really. Everyone is looking out for each other, and we're doing okay, and good days and bad days. Look, there are many families out there that have suffered losses that are so devastating, and it's hard to always keep positive or always, and some days you just have to acknowledge that you're upset and that's the way it is. But yeah, we're doing okay. We're looking out for each other.
Well, you're very good and very strong to come on here and chat with us, Ciarán. I want to thank you for coming along and chatting with us here on Radio Irish. And, my heart goes out to you, Ciarán, and all the Priestly family on losing Triona.
Okay, thank you very much, and thanks very much for having me on. And look, I'm just really pleased to have spoken about Triona, and if anyone, I suppose, was touched by her story or is affected in any way, just look up something that you can do for cystic fibrosis, whether it be in America or Ireland, and just, I suppose Trina used to always say that someday CF is going to stand for Cure Found instead of Cystic Fibrosis, and I hope I live to see that day.
As we play here on Radio Irish from the Song for Tree concert held in Dreach Theatre in memory of beautiful young Triona Priestly, Colm and Father Ciarán Priestly performing New York, New York.
It's my dad. I suppose anybody who knows Triona knows that she loved New York. So I'm going to try sing a Frank Sinatra song for them. You see how that goes? Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I'm gonna be a part of it. New York, New York. These little town blues are melting away. Right to the very heart of it, in all New York. If I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere.